In this age of AI, if you can describe it, then you can create it. Hello, in this video, let's see how we can build this visual effect where we place a photorealistic person inside of a 2D cell animated cartoon environment. Here again, we are making use of the ElevenLabs platform, and the main AI generation video model that we are using is the Gemini Omni Flash. Using the model is kind of straightforward, but creating this prompt essentially that would create this environment for us, this is where the work is, right? Because when you look at the flow, here we are making use of the ElevenLabs Flows interface. So the actual raw video is this. It's basically like me acting out this particular scene. So I can show you then you can create it. So here I'm just inside of my room and I'm, speaking these dialogues, all right? And you see that, there's no green screen or whatever in the background. It's just a simple video that we have recorded, okay? Now, this video, we are giving it as an input to our Google Omni Flash model. Now, it did go through a series of iterations before we arrived at the result that we have right now. So let me walk through the process for getting this result. I started by first building the prompt that I would have to give to the Gemini Omni Flash model. Now, in order to build the prompt, I made use of Claude. Here you see, I'm making use of Claude as my prompt builder. So here I'm just using the web interface of Claude. You could use ChatGPT, Gemini, any AI tool at your disposal, which will help you to just craft the prompt in a more efficient manner, right? So I started off by just giving the rough idea that I had in my mind with regards to what is the look and feel that I want to have, and how I would want to essentially restyle this original video into. Okay, so I described how I wanted this to be something like, the old 2D animated Snow White, movie, like basically the old fairy tale style animation, right? So that's basically what I wanted to have. And then I gave this idea to Claude. It, crafted the first prompt for me, okay? And by reading the prompt, I got to understand that this type of animation is like cell animation. Okay, so let me just make this a bit bigger. So this is the cell animation style, hand-drawn cell animation of the 1930s, okay? So I took this first prompt and I gave it into Google Gemini Omni, and this was the first result that I got, okay? So it is okay, but it's just that the main character, in this case, which is me, looks a bit older, and it doesn't even look a lot like me, right? So I thought maybe I could iterate on this to refine it. So that's when I had this idea of why not we make use of this Mary Poppins style, where you have a photorealistic person inside of a cartoonish environment, right? So that was the idea that I got after I got this video generated, okay? So I went back to my consultant Claude agent, and I basically told what I had in mind. I basically told how the character from the original video needs to be the same. It's just that we want it to be inside of the 2D world. So it basically even immediately got it, and it says, oh yeah, you want the Mary Poppins and enchanted, style. So it gave me this refined prompt, which will basically place a photorealistic character inside of this cell animated video, right? So that's basically what I did. I copied the second, this prompt and pasted it into, again, Gemini Omni Flash, and I got this. So here again, the video starts out good, but then the character is popping back, and there's a bit of ghosting effect that is happening here. So, I explained again this issue to Claude, okay, and gave me the next prompt, and I copied that and, went to the third iteration of the video. So by this time, I actually had an idea. basically, because I saw that there was this issue with the lower part of my body, especially because, the original video doesn't have the lower part of my body, right? Like it has been framed only from my waist up. So I got this idea of like, why don't we just put this character behind the well, right? Like, let's just have like a wishing well and put the character behind it. So that was my idea to, occlude or hide the lower part of my body. I asked Claude to do that, and it refined the prompt again and gave me this new prompt where we have this nice, interesting wishing well. But there again, we see that, the well initially has this roof structure, and then it goes away and the proportions are all off. So I asked Claude again, like, hey, this is what's going on. Can you refine the prompt for me? And it did. And it gave me two options, as a matter of fact. So it gave me this option where, you just give a follow-up prompt to the already generated video. So basically, like, here we have the video already generated, right? So you could, in fact, just give a fixed prompt, which will work on top of this video. All right. So it will just try to fix the issues of this video here. It will essentially make use of this video as its reference to do its next generation instead of using the, the original video as the input. I thought about it, and when you like see the cost of running this, it comes about 5,257 credits. But when you do an original generation also, it's the same amount of credits that you're spending. So I thought, like, just why not just use this new and improved complete prompt and generate it from scratch. It's just costing me the same. So that's what I did. So I used the refined prompt and generated it from scratch. Now this looks much better. It's still, looking as if that I am somehow crouching behind the wall, right? Or kneeling down behind the wall. Like I told again Claude that this is what's going on. And, it basically was my partner in this generation. Because, here in this chat, the agent has full context on what we're doing. This agent that is actually crafting the prompt itself for us. So, I was able to add follow-ups, refine my ideas, even though this AI agent doesn't have visibility into the images or the videos that are actually being generated. It has all the textual context that it needs, right? So I was just refining my thoughts over here and basically my prompts over here and pasting it back. So these are the different iterations. So like, after this, I did try, doing a follow-up prompt by giving this as the input, because I did like, how the character has been framed behind the well. It's just that it would have been better if, like, the well was a bit taller and the person was like, looking as if he was actually standing rather than kneeling or crouching. So that's what I tried to do here, but still, like it was not actually giving me the result. Here this was like actually the follow-up prompt, but still it just looks more or less the same. I tried again, asking by just like directly prompting over here. So this is my direct prompt. I was not even using Claude to build the prompt here. I just said, make the well 2 times taller. It did do it, but it's just that initially the well was, at the right size in the beginning, but then it just fades out for some reason. I understand it. When I asked Claude, it did inform me that it's some sort of a glitch or issue that is there in the model. We need to prompt it in such a way that that doesn't happen. The way we do that, we just specify, ensure that this image is consistent throughout in all the frames. So that's essentially what I did over here. And it looks good, but it's just that, the position of the human character is not adjusted. And when, the hand also just comes out of the well for some reason, and this upper part of the well even like, fades out and fades in. So it looks a bit odd. So I just like, went back to Claude and explained the issues that I was facing. It did refine the prompt once again, and then I used that to like, create a couple of more generations. And in this one, strangely, it just has removed my glasses. That's pretty cool, right? I mean, like it is looking so real, right? As if I was not even wearing glasses. But I, in fact, like, here you see I wear the glasses, right? So, this is one iteration that I got. Here again, the proportions is a bit off. That's my issue here. So I tried again. What I did was I just told Claude itself, just make the well size at least twice as tall as it would usually be. And that's what happened here. And Claude suggested that since Gemini Omni Flash is a world model, just put some sort of a creature in front of the well so that the model understands the proportion better. So that's essentially why there is this rabbit in the in the beginning of the sequence. It's just for the model to know the proportions. So this looks much better than all the other generations that we have done, and that's why we are like going ahead with this. But I did do one more iteration, and I asked Claude to make the well 3 times as tall. In this prompt, I asked the well to be 2 times as tall, and over here in this prompt, I I asked Claude to make it 3 times as tall. But I didn't get much different of a result when compared to this, right? It's not that very different when you actually look at it side by side. And moreover, over here in this generation, for some reason, there is this fading, that roof thing, and then the characters also going inside of the well. So it looked a bit odd. We can keep on iterating, but it's just cost more credits as you keep generating, right? So I had to draw the line somewhere, and this generation looked okay when compared to all the other generations. So that's the reason I went ahead with using this. But it's really cool what all we are able to do now, especially with the Gemini Omni Flash model, because you see we don't have any green screen or any background special color. It's not a blue screen or a green screen. It's just a regular video. But we can see how this input video has been transformed to this. If we had to do this manually, even in the days of Mary Poppins, people had to manually do rotoscope, right? They had to create a mask for this character, and only then that character could be placed in some different environment. And then again, the environment itself had to be created, right? Somebody had to either draw it or do some 3D modeling or matte painting or somehow set it up and set up the compositions. There's a lot of work that goes into building something like this, but now it's just a prompt away, right? So you see that we get the rotoscope and for free, essentially, because it's kind of a different technology that is happening here, right? It's more of a world model generation rather than a traditional VFX pipeline. But you can see that we get a clean, more or less a clean mask. And we have this character placed behind this well inside of this 2D cell animated fairy tale environment. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, so this was an overview of how we could put a photorealistic person inside of a 2D animated environment. Hope this video was useful. Thanks for watching.